This is my presentation for acute responses to exercise, and today I'll be talking about the musculoskeletal responses, energy systems responses, cardiovascular responses, and lastly the respiratory system responses. So, increase in blood supply. There is an increase in blood supply when exercising because the blood vessels in your muscles dilate. ATP is the way our body uses biochemical to use energy and store. When your ATP gets used up in the working muscles when exercising, the muscles themselves produce metabolic byproducts, for example, CO2, hydrogen, and adenosine. As these leave our muscles, they cause small, thin-walled blood vessels within the muscle to expand or dilate. This is called vasodilation. The dilated capillaries allow increased blood flow, which delivers more oxygenated blood to the working muscle. For example, Mo Farah would need to increase his blood supply whilst running in the 10,000 metre run because he will be running for longer, so towards the end of the race he still has energy which goes to the working muscles so he can finish the race better when he is tired. The more blood that is being used, the less lactic acid will go to the muscles, which can affect the performance towards the end of the race. Increase in muscle pliability. As we warm up for an exercise, our muscles become more pliable so that we can stretch further when performing. Athletes warm up because when the muscles are pliable, then there is less risk of them pulling a muscle. The athlete will be able to have a greater range of movement when performing, which will increase their performance. Our muscles adjust during exercise because our muscles contain lactic acid, and then when your muscles adjust, the lactic acid that is present clears up so you don't feel the pain as much towards the end of the match or race. By doing this, the muscles then become more pliable to have different range of movements. Usain Bolt will want to make his muscles as pliable as possible because he doesn't want to pull a muscle during his 100 metre sprint. He will also want to stretch his legs further so he can run faster. Increase in range of movement. When participating in physical activity, the production of synovial fluid increases in the joints, and that is why there is a greater range of movements within the joints in short term during exercise. Synovial fluid's function is to lubricate the joint, which makes the joint more supple and easy to move. A football keeper would need this because when diving, he needs to move his arms fast towards the ball, and without the movement of the joint, he wouldn't be able to rotate his arms and save the ball. Increase in microfiber tears. Every muscle in the body is made up of millions of fibres. When we exercise, they tear, and when they repair, they grow back bigger and stronger. Whilst exercising, muscle fibres pull against each other depending on how intense and the duration of the exercise you're doing. You may feel ache that takes place in the muscles because the microfiber tears are stretching further than normal. This results in microscopic tearing of fibres. By us resting our muscles after exercising, our bodies heal, resulting in extra strength so that they can grow bigger. Bodybuilders would need this because they want their muscles to be as big as possible so the microfibres have to tear to be able to repair bigger and stronger. Energy systems responses. Phosphocreatine. Energy systems responses. Phosphocreatine. Phosphocreatine has a very high energy bond, and when this bond is broken, the energy that is released. This energy is used to resynthesize ATP or ADP. The energy that is released in this system can almost immediately be replaced, so therefore several short bursts of activity can be repeated without the body becoming achy. This system is the immediate energy system and is used when exercise is being participated in high intensity. Oxygen is normally not used in this system because the energy used is found in the muscles and the liver. Lactic acid system. This energy system is short term and is used when energy is needed for a long period of time at high intensity. But as the process occurs without oxygen, our muscles start to ache because we need as much oxygen when we are working hard in the exercise to go to our working muscles so they can keep on going without getting cramp. The maximal work for lactic acid to start moving around the muscles is around about 60 to 90 seconds. This energy system works by converting the pyruvate produced by glycolysis of glucose into lactate. converted by the enzyme lactate. The ATP that is generated allows exercise of high intensity to continue up in the human muscle. Aerobic energy system. This energy system is long-term and it needs oxygen for it to function. This system occurs in the mitochondria of the cells, which converts food into energy. The link reaction, glycolysis, the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain make up the metabolic reactions called aerobic respiration. They can only function when oxygen is present, even though it produces large amounts of ATP, but it takes a long time for the aerobic energy system to do this, which is seen as a drawback. It takes a couple of minutes for the heart to deliver oxygenated blood to the working muscles, so this means the aerobic energy system is slower to engage in comparison to the other energy systems. Energy continuum. Energy is mainly in foods such as fats and carbohydrates. This energy is then transferred from the food into the contractile proteins in the muscles. The ability for the body to do this will determine the capacity at which of the body is able to exercise at different intensities. ATP is the currency of the cells and is continuous supply of energy for the body. Requirements of different sports and exercise activities. All three energy systems are operational at any time, however, depending on the intensity and the duration of the activity, different energy systems will be the primary provider. And here is a table of how it works. So basketball, it's high in ATPC, lactic acid system is high in that, and aerobic high in that. The cardiovascular system responses. Heart rate anticipatory response. Before an exercise, your heart rate increases as a result of anticipatory heart rate response. When we think about exercise before actually doing it, our heart rate also increases because the nerves release the chemicals that adjust our heart rate, increase the heart rate. This is because the body anticipates exercise as it wants to prepare for the activity, increasing the amount of oxygen for when our body begins to work harder than normal. The rate that the heart reaches before starting to exercise is called anticipatory heart rate. Footballers will feel this in the changing rooms before a football match because they'll be feeling really nervous, or maybe they want to feel pumped up so they can feel the adrenaline during the match. Activity response. Activity response is almost the same as the heart rate anticipatory response at the start of the exercise. The nerves in the brain detect cardiovascular activity. The nerves then send out chemical signals to the heart so that it increases its heart rate as the strength at which the heart is pumping. This means that more blood can get to the working muscles faster. Regional blood flow is also altered to meet the correct proportions against intensity of the activity being carried out. This means that some areas will have higher blood flow if they are exercising, such as the biceps, in comparison to areas that are not exercising and therefore require less blood. Increased blood pressure. Blood pressure is the pressure of blood against the walls of the arteries. There are two different types of blood pressure, systolic and diastolic. Systolic pressure is the highest pressure within the bloodstream, which occurs during each beat when the heart is in systole. Diastolic is the lowest pressure within the bloodstream, which occurs between beats when the heart is in diastole. During exercise, our heart rate and blood pressure increases, but there are mechanisms that prevent blood pressure becoming too high and also bring it down. Both oxygen consumption and the heart rate increasing during aerobic exercise to reach the demands of the intensity of the activity, and this means the pulse rate will rise and the blood flow to the muscles increases. A footballer will feel this in their first sprint during the match because they will have to take it light, and when the match begins their heart rate will increase so they can sprint faster. Vasoconstriction. This is when the blood vessels narrow and reduce blood flow. If your body temperature becomes too low, then the blood vessels constrict, which means that they decrease in size. This is called vasoconstriction, and it means that less heat will be free, transfer across the skin and into the air as as there is a smaller surface area, which also means more heat will be kept inside of the body. Vasodilation. This is when blood vessels widen in an attempt to increase blood flow. If the body temperature becomes too high, the blood vessels just under the surface will dilate, which means that they increase in size, and this is called vasodilation. Due to an increase in surface area, more heat will be transferred across the skin and out into the air. The loss of heat means that the body will be cooler. The respiratory system responses. Increase in breathing rate. The inspiratory sensor, which increases the stimulation of the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles, and it also stimulates the other muscles used during inspiration, such as the pectoralis minor. This increases the force of contraction and therefore increases the depth of inspiration. The expiratory sensor stimulates the expiratory muscles, which are the internal intercostal muscles, obliques, and the erectus abdominis. This can cause a forced expiration, which also reduces the duration of inspiration. A sprinter's breathing rate will increase massively after the race, as he won't be breathing as much when sprinting, so he will need to gain more oxygen after. This is called oxygen debt. Increased tidal volume. Tidal volume is the amount of air inhaled and exhaled with each breath. This is usually around about 500 centimeters cubed. Tidal volume increases to around 3 to 4 litres during exercise. When you increase tidal volume, it allows a greater intake of oxygen and then exhale of CO2, which is then produced by the respiring muscles. This increase can occur as the breathing rate increases to try and meet the oxygen demand for the respiring muscles. This is a video, but it's too long, so I'm not going to play it. So thank you for listening.